Hello and good day, DMPS employees. It's a pleasure to be able to share with you our Denver Metro Protective Services P3, also known as the Progression Plan, Promotion Progression Plan. The DMPS Progressive Plan is largely self-directed. That means you, each and every one of you, are responsible for your success and how quickly you promote within the company. The expectation is that employees are ultimately accountable for seeking out the appropriate education and training while maintaining attendance, performance, and attitude. So who is eligible, you ask? Anyone in their current position more than 90 days. Employees with 3 or less attendance issues in the last quarter. A quarter is defined as January to March, April to June, July to September, October to December. Employees with no corrective action in the previous quarter are also eligible for consideration. Corrective actions include verbal warnings, written warnings, at-fault accidents in vehicles, attendance issues, confirmed client complaints, sleeping on the job, inappropriate pursuits of subjects on property, excessive and/or inappropriate use of force. Anyone who has completed the training requirements of their current status at DMPS are also eligible for consideration to progress in the company. Someone that is consistently meeting the expectations of their position and is occasionally exceeding expectations, including 5-star customer service, high-level knowledge of security duties, strong report writing skills, consistent and accurate time clock usage, and completing GPS hits according to location requirements and other duties as directed. If you have successfully completed all of the requirements of your current status, reach out to your commanding officers for the required documentation to request consideration for promotion.
So in the policy, we have put a flow chart which will kind of give you a description of the different levels and where to go from the level that you are currently at. You will note that there are some options that go different directions from the main progression plan, and just be aware that those options are out there, but also be aware that sometimes those positions may not be available at the time. If it's something that you are interested in pursuing, you can reach out to us and let us know, and we will discuss your promotion capabilities. So let's start with the first level. The first level is a corps officer. So who is a corps officer? Corps officer is anybody who, from new hire to the completion of this level. Now, some of our folks don't feel the need to progress beyond where they're at, and that is totally okay. Just be aware that these are the bare minimum requirements for training and other expectations for this position. So a corps officer is someone that consistently meets the full expectations of their position and is occasionally exceeding expectations. Now, this is a common thread you will see throughout them because this is kind of what we expect for all the levels. Everyone who is at any level needs to consistently meet the full expectations of their position and occasionally exceed those expectations. So this is someone who has successfully completed OC spray training. They have also successfully completed HIPAA training. This is also someone who has successfully completed report writing training. And then you are also, as a corps officer, to gain and maintain all licensing for your assigned region or regions.
So it's important to note that as a corps officer at this level, you are required to obtain your Denver armed, unarmed guard license and maintain that. You will not move on to further levels without that licensing. So even if you don't ever work a day in Denver, you still have to have that licensing to be considered to move on from what is defined as a corps officer by DMPS. So graduating from corps officer to advanced level 1. An advanced level 1 officer is someone that consistently meets the full expectations of their position and occasionally exceeds expectation, much like Josh talked about. That's pretty consistent throughout each and every one of these levels. We really need our top performers to rise to the top. So do the best you can with what you have, and you will set yourself up for success and further promotion. You must have less than 3 attendance issues in the last quarter. This is also another consistent that you're going to see across the board for all the levels. Attendance, you can be the best officer if you don't come to work. It's kind of hard to consider you for further opportunity. So please, please, please be mindful of any attendance issues. Please, it's always better to be proactive than reactive. So if you know of something in advance, communicate with us. We put the new attendance policy in place. I'm pretty sure you're all aware of that. You should be calling in 4 hours before the start of your shift if you are unable to make it. In addition, you have 2 hours after your shift has begun to contact us. Otherwise, it's considered a no-call, no-show. Unfortunately, you cannot have any no-call, no-shows in order to be considered to move to the next level. You need to have required all coursework and or recertification required for your level annually, which generally, especially if you're armed, has to be your, annual qualification training or arms training going to the range. You cannot have any corrective action in place at all. We talked about that, what is considered a corrective action. That can also include an attendance contract. You need to maintain all licensing for your assigned region, and a report writing audit reveals, should reveal less than 3 levels of, or 3 issues rather, of professionalism. Of course, site specific, as far as what's appropriate. Is it thorough? Is it timely? Are you completing your activity reports as required? So if they're once an hour, are you turning them in once an hour? So training requirements in order to be considered for advancement past level 1 is that you have to have successfully completed CPR first aid training. You have to have successfully completed DTAC or defensive tactics training. You also must have successfully completed situational awareness training. And finally, you have to have completed an additional training of your choosing. We are developing our catalog of available courses. It's important to note that if you do take a course that's required further down the road, you'll have to swap that out with another course. So you'll never be told, no, you can't attend a course when you're interested in it, but note that where or when it's required, you may have to swap something out to make sure that you're meeting the minimum training requirements to move on to the next level.
An advanced level 2 officer is someone who also consistently meets the full expectations of their position and is occasionally exceeding expectations. Again, we've talked about that. I won't spend more time on that. Same thing with attendance issues. Nicole and I have both mentioned things like that, and then also corrective actions. Again, you will be required to complete all coursework and recertifications required for your level annually. So if you have completed an ASP course and it has expired within this time period and you're trying to get promoted, unfortunately, you will have to get recertified. Same thing for anything that we have certified you in or have given you certificates for. It is important that you note that we do maintain copies of all your certificates, but if you would like copies of those, please let us know. Again, maintaining all your licensing for your assigned regions. Now, this isn't just Denver, but also will mostly include Denver. There's Colorado Springs. There's some other small regional areas that you do need to maintain your licensing for. Again, also, your report writing audit reveals less than 3 issues of professionalism. Now, some sites require, this is why we talk about site-specific information. Some sites require 1 report a day. Some sites require, most sites require reports every hour. Sometimes you might do 4 reports in an hour. But just make sure that you're doing what is necessary for that individual site and and making sure that your content is appropriate. So the training requirements for advanced level 2, now it's becoming more and more advanced. So you are going to have more requirements. On top of all your other requirements, you are going to be required to do these particular things. You have your ASP baton training. Now this is also tactical flashlight and handcuffing, but you have your ASP certification. You will have to complete a de-escalation training. Whether that's verbal judo or additional de-escalation trainings that we put out there, you will have to do at least one of them. You will have successfully completed room clearing training. This is important for everyone. We come across situations where doors are unlocked and we need to appropriately and accurately and safely clear rooms, and so you need to do that. Also successfully completing DTAC control techniques. So this is going to be the PPCT method of handcuffing, also controlling people using different soft pressure points and other things like that. One of the important things that we want you to complete is CRS training. What is the law and what are we required to report and how to report those things appropriately and accurately? How can we articulate the elements of the law? And then you have successfully completed one of the leadership courses. We are putting out at this current time 5 leadership courses, any one of which would be appropriate for the completion of this requirement.
All right, so we have talked about a Corps officer, who a Corps officer is, what training they have to have completed. We've talked about an advanced level 1 officer, what has to be in place from a performance perspective as well as required training. We've also talked about an advanced level 2 and what's required of that. Now that you've completed all of those steps, you're wondering what's next. It is at this time that you're eligible for consideration for a patrol interview. At this level, you're eligible for consideration also for an on-site FTO interview. What is an on-site FTO, you ask? An on-site FTO is someone that we are going to provide additional specialized training to so that we can assign you officers who are brand new to the company to come and spend some time with you and get an idea of what the expectations are on site. It's important to note this position is not for everybody. Not everybody is capable or willing to teach in a way that we would expect, and that's okay. There is still opportunity just beyond on-site FTO. So there's lots of options. As you saw in the previous chart, there is, once you have finished level 2, you can go to an on-site FTO, or you can be considered for advanced level 3 and move to patrol. Again, you do have to have an interview as well as a current MVR available for us at your interview to be considered to drive for the company. So if you have successfully completed all of the requirements for advanced level 2 and you want to be considered for patrol or field training officer, you need to request the appropriate paperwork from your commanding officers. They will, once you've completed that paperwork, they'll fill out their portion and they'll get it to administration so that we can start scheduling some times for you to come in and meet with us for evaluation. This on-site field training officer, what does that mean? An on-site FTO is someone who has a clear understanding of the requirements of the client. Basically, they understand what we do for the client, what we don't do for the client, what the client expects, and what the client, quite frankly, won't tolerate. They must be able to subjectively evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of those they are training. What does that mean? That basically means that you're there to give them the information that they need to be successful at DMPS without factoring in your opinion of the person, your thoughts on the person, what they bring to the table. It's really just important to note everybody should have the chance to succeed. We want you to succeed as a field training officer. We want the new officer to succeed here at the organization. And we want you to give us the feedback on how to make them better. You must be able to effectively communicate evaluations and make recommendations on the potential for additional training requirements. It's absolutely essential that you are an effective communicator. You have to be able to have some of those challenging conversations that include, this might not be the best way to do it. This is how I would recommend that you do it. You need to require, field training officers are required to complete certain paperwork for the FTO process in a timely fashion and get that to commanding officers. You must be self-motivated. And of course, you must have less than 3 attendance issues in the last quarter and cannot have any corrective actions in place. You are required to complete all coursework and or recertifications for your level annually, even as a field training officer. If you've already completed courses before the level it's required, you will need to attend an alternative class, again, referring to that course catalog that we are in the process of developing. You need to maintain all licensing for your assigned region, whether that's City and County of Denver, City and County of Greeley, City and County of Colorado Springs, and potentially other cities and counties that we add, you definitely need to be aware and verse yourself in what is required for your licensing in that city and county. Your report writing audit has to reveal less than 3 issues of professionalism. Again, site specific, what's appropriate, is it thorough, is it timely, are you completing them hourly as you're supposed to, those kinds of things. Training requirements for an on-site field training officer. You have to have successfully completed the Train the Trainer series. There are 4 sections to the Train the Trainer series. Each block consists of 2 2-hour trainings, so it's a total of 16 hours of Train the Trainer information. This basically is just designed to help make you a more effective communicator and to be able to understand your audience. Adults are special, unique learners. They don't learn like high schoolers. They don't learn like elementary students. So we really have to understand how to deliver training in a way that will be impactful and effective. You have to have completed the leadership course, coaching and mentoring, as well as communication. If you completed those in the previous, as part of one of the leadership courses for advanced level 2, obviously we need you to take one of the other 3. Demonstrate the ability to perform any and all functions of the on-site officer and be able to do the position with efficiency and effectively, and practice high levels of discretion. I can't emphasize enough to you how important it is to keep any and all sensitive information to yourself and share it on a very, very limited need-to-know basis. That really is kind of a corner mark of those who are generally successful leaders, is they're not the one that is spreading information preemptively, putting things out there that they don't necessarily have all the facts. So take time, take pause. That's really what we want you to do. That's what we want our leaders to do. That way, information isn't coming from all different sources and it means and sounds different from everybody. We want you to have a knowledge of and be able to communicate company policies and procedures and answer questions of on-site officers with accuracy. Again, at this level, we're hoping you kind of know most of the policies and procedures, but I would encourage you guys to print out a copy of the policy and procedures and have that available with you on site to refer to there in the moment. If you don't know the answer to a question, say that. It's okay. We don't expect you to know all the answers to every question that anyone's ever going to ask. But please, whatever you do, don't make up an answer. It's really not helpful to anybody, and really, mostly it hurts you because then your credibility comes into question.
Again, we expect that you consistently meet the full expectations of the position and occasionally exceed them, have less than 3 attendance issues in the last quarter, have no corrective actions in place, and again, you're required to complete all coursework and or recertifications required for your level annually. Maintain all your licensing for your assigned regions. Report writing audit reveals less than 3 issues of professionalism. And if you've completed the courses already required previous to this level for this level, then you will have to add in additional courses as needed. So here are the courses that we will be requiring for Advanced Level 3. Advanced Level 3 requires successful completion of advanced firearms. This is not just basic firearms class. This is not just point and shoot at a target. This is going to be more advanced items. Shooting is an acquired skill. It is a learned skill. It is something that you need to practice at. You will also have to successfully complete our active shooter training. Now, we do a little bit of this in orientation, but we're going to actually put this into practice. So this is more advanced. It's still coursework, but also more advanced. You have also completed the spontaneous knife defense and weapons retention training. Remember, we bring weapons to every situation we go to. You need to be able to make sure that you maintain your control on your own weapons. And then also has successfully completed gauge training. Gauge is ground avoidance, ground escape. This is a form of ground fighting that we can do as officers without rolling around too much, without expending too much energy in order to gain that compliance. Has also successfully completed mental health first aid basics. You will have to have completed 4 of the 5 basic leadership parts. the communication, coaching and mentoring, conflict resolution, it's going to be a big one, traits of leaders. There is an introduction to leadership, and that is the only other course that we have currently for basic leadership. I highly encourage you, as you're getting to these more advanced levels, to participate in all these leadership courses. Now, at this level, once you've completed all the requirements, you could be eligible for consideration for corporal and or sergeant interviews.
However, it's also important to note that is to say we have available corporal and sergeant spots on the team available. Just because you have completed all of the training, it does not necessarily mean from an organizational perspective that we have that exact position available at that exact time that you're ready for consideration. So please know you will be at the top of the list when that does become available, but it's not a guarantee once you've checked all the boxes that you automatically are eligible to interview and be granted a corporal or sergeant position. Ooh, field training officer for patrol unit. What does that look like? Fun stuff. You have to have successfully completed the Train the Trainer series, which again is those two-hour blocks for a total of 16 hours of Train the Trainer training. Successfully completed safe driver training. Demonstrate an ability to perform any and all functions of the patrol officers and be able to do the position with efficiency and effectively, as well as being able to practice high levels of discretion. You must also have knowledge of and be able to communicate company policies and procedures and answer the questions of officers with accuracy. Again, it's important to note if you don't know the answer, it's okay, but please don't make anything up. Please don't tell them inaccurate information. I would also encourage this group of field training officers for the patrol division to have the policies and procedures of DMPS available to them in their patrol box so that they can refer to it. As with every other position that we've talked about here, you do have to understand what it is that we do on our patrols, what the client expects of us. You must be able to subjectively evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of those you are training, so be able to give us an honest assessment of how they're doing, whether they need more training, whether they would benefit from more training, or worst case scenario, patrol isn't a good fit for them. You must be accident-free in a company vehicle in the previous 6 months. It's important to note you cannot be found at fault for any accident in a company vehicle in the previous 6 months, or you are ineligible to be a patrol field training officer. You must be able to complete and submit the required FTO paperwork in a timely fashion for all those that ride with you. Must have less than 3 attendance issues in the last quarter and cannot have any kind of corrective action in place. In addition, of course, you are required to complete all coursework and recertifications for your level annually. And if you have already completed any courses before the level is required, you will need to attend an alternative additional class to fulfill that requirement. So, important to note also, you cannot have any at-fault accidents in a company vehicle in the last 6 months. In addition, we will be pulling your MVR a little more consistently and be checking to ensure that you have less than 6 points accumulated in 3 years. If you exceed that 6 points in 3 years, unfortunately, you will no longer be eligible to provide field training for the patrol team.
All right, who is a senior officer? Again, all these items are fairly common to all of these other categories and the levels. But we want someone who is consistently meeting the full expectations of their position and is occasionally exceeding expectations. Again, this is our higher levels. This is going to be our frontline supervisors. And so you guys will, in order to be eligible for this, you need to be for sure meeting the full expectations, if not generally exceeding expectations. You will either, to be a senior officer, you will likely be either a corporal or a sergeant. You will have less than 3 attendance issues, no corrective actions, required to complete all coursework and recertifications required for your level annually. And if you have already completed a course for your level that you completed earlier, then you need to attend an alternative additional class. You should also, or you are required also, to maintain all licensing for your assigned region and demonstrate effective leadership qualities and demonstrate high levels of discernment. Part of this process is that you are a supervisor. You are going to be required. Unfortunately, we in the office can't be out in the field 24/7. We do need people we can rely on, and we expect you in this position will be in that higher levels of discernment, also being able to tackle and deal with a lot of higher level situations. And as a senior officer, you will likely be acting as an instructor for various disciplines, whether you will have a certification to instruct or you will be instructing some of the soft skills and other things that we ask people to teach in the office. Again, you'll also have less than 3 report writing audit issues. What are the training requirements? So as a senior officer, you will have successfully attended accident investigations basics training. This is an important class because you may be the only one on duty who knows how to do some accident investigation for either a situation we were involved in, a situation somebody else was involved in. So you at least need to know the basics of what you're supposed to be doing when you get to an accident to investigate. You have completed all of the leadership courses. Now, this is important because we expect you to be a high-level leadership in the company anyway, so you need to be demonstrating and have completed all the levels of leadership training that we offer. You are available and able to teach multiple courses. You will also have completed the Train the Trainer course. And then we will also have, once you have completed Train the Trainer, that doesn't mean that Train the Trainer goes away. You will also be required to have quarterly participation in Train the Trainer activities. And you should be exploring outside educational opportunities at this point, whether it's post-certification, instructor courses, advanced weapons training, and you can do that all through the office by coming and talking to us in the office.
An important part of being part of the leadership team here at Denver Metro Protective Services is that we count on you to be a mentor, to be a coach, to want and be vested and interested in developing and training those who came after you. As a patrol corporal, you're going to be assigned 5 on-site officers to mentor, coach, develop, and train. You must, at a minimum, once a month communicate either by email, phone, or in person, and quarterly are going to be required to submit those reports to us here at the office so that we can, A, get that in your documentation to show that you have followed through with the requirement of being a patrol corporal. In addition, we put that in the other person's file to note how they are progressing. You must satisfy a 4-hour training commitment each month, and that can be soft skills, that can be certification courses, that can be any number of different things, but we just want to get you in front of your fellow staff and develop those presentation skills that you have. You are responsible for nightly vehicle checks, including maintenance, cleanliness, and proper supplies, and you are also required to take patrol call, roll call at briefing. Patrol sergeants are going to be assigned 5 on-site and 2 patrol officers to mentor, coach, develop, and train. They must, at a minimum, once a month communicate, whether it be by email, by phone, or in person, and ultimately quarterly submit those reports to us. So again, we can see the progress, not only that the sergeant is completing their requirements, but that the employee that they're mentoring, coaching is developing and getting better and improving on their overall job skills. Patrol sergeants are required to teach a minimum of 6 hours a month. They are also responsible for ensuring employees are carrying and wearing authorized uniform and items on duty belts. We are developing a form. It's going to be a standard form that's going to be available to those in position of patrol sergeant. It'll basically be a checklist, and if there's anything on their belt that is questionable, that will come to administration here in the office so that we can determine, is that something they should be carrying? Is it not? Is that something we need to address? Enforcing policy and procedure violations in cooperation with HR. So basically, if there's someone out there not meeting those minimum expectations or is carrying something that's unauthorized, you need to communicate that information to me, HR, and we will handle it in a way that makes sense. Lastly, you are to direct the shift briefing and deliver essentially the down and dirty. Let them know what they need to know in order to be successful in on that shift. It's important to note, guys, that this is really sort of the bones, or better known as the foundation of what is going to be a living, breathing, changeable document. We commit as administration to working these steps just as faithfully as you guys. We want to hold ourselves accountable to some sort of platform to make you guys eligible for promotion. In the same way, we want you to hold us accountable, ask for meetings, be forward thinking, show us your motivation. But again, it's important to note it's a living, breathing document. Several changes will come. Maybe even changes will be made before we actually present this presentation, and there'll be a piggyback presentation. We will definitely let you guys know and be communicating with you any changes that you need to note. All courses are subject to change, of course, with notification to you guys. As far as what's required at what level, as additional courses come up, we will definitely share with you where those kind of fall in the promotion progression plan, or P3. But ultimately, this is your roadmap. This is what you need to do as an employee at Denver Metro Protective Services to progress, to promote, to be afforded other opportunities to succeed. So just a quick overview of a few of the forms that we want you to become familiar with. The first is the P3 progression plan form. What's going to happen is this is going to be an electronic document that your commanding officer, when you've requested that this process begin, they'll fill out, you'll fill out the top section, it'll be yellowed for you, and then they'll go in and fill in those boxes, 90 days in position, less than 3 attendance issues, corrective actions in place, meeting expectations, exceeding expectations. They'll fill out that piece and make any comments. In addition, you're going to be able to, under class and date, note what classes you've taken and when, obviously noting that you have completed and maintained your licensing and that you have met the minimum training requirements to be considered for a change. Then along the bottom, you'll note that each of the levels is named Core, Advanced 1, Advanced 2, On-Site FTO, Advanced 3, Patrol FTO, Senior Officer, Corporal, Sergeant, or a Master. Once we have this whole paper filled out between you, the employee, and your commanding officer, we then, as long as the position is available and is an option, we'll schedule an interview for you to come in and meet with the panel to find out what your next options are given your performance history here within the organization. The next form is the what we have adopted as our Denver Metro Protective Services Performance Review. There are 5 quantifications. There is poor performance, below average performance, above average performance, and excellent performance. It's important to note there's a lot of different components that go into deciding what and who is going to be best fit in which position. So there's a number of different categories. We are happy to share this form with you, enable you to take a closer look, but the different categories include appearance in uniform, cleanliness of your work area, any attendance issues, communication or your ability to communicate, your ability to follow orders, your commitment to customer service, how well you work as a part of a team, the quality of your work, whether or not you have been noted as being taking initiative, ensuring that you are being proactive in preventing accidents and injury, practicing safe work environment. We also give you an opportunity to evaluate yourself, as well as establish any goals or what you intend to achieve between this performance review and the next. Any opportunities for growth, any opportunities that you see within yourself, as well as this will be a place for your supervising staff to kind of make notes of here's where we feel like the person is doing well, here are some opportunities that we see for improvement. And then this becomes a part of your official employee record. In theory, it would be DMPS's ultimate goal to have this conversation with you guys generally within your first 3 to 6 months. And then from there on, we'll be doing annually. Again, in your first 90 days, we're all kind of feeling out the situation. You're making sure we're a good fit. We're making sure you're a good fit. So within that 3 to 6 month mark, we want to kind of be establishing, okay, here's what you've been able to do since you've joined the organization. Here's what we want you to do, and here's how to accomplish that. And then, of course, annually thereafter, we want to give you the opportunity to kind of assess what have you been able to do, what do you want to continue to do, what are your future goals and aspirations. Last, but certainly not least, this is a form you guys are going to get to know very well. This is the Site Officer Inspection Sheet. This is going to be given to commanding officers, the corporals and the sergeants. When they go onto a site and evaluate you, they're going to be looking for an appropriate uniform, ensure that you're wearing your license in a visible spot and that it is up to date, that you're only wearing the authorized duty gear, or if you are wearing unauthorized duty gear, what it is, making sure you're pressed and dressed, that you look professional, that you're acting professional, that you really are projecting that image that DMPS wants, which is we look nice. Are you late to shifts? Have you been caught sleeping? Are you being tactful? Are you being appropriate? Are you handling the client the way the client needs to be handled? Do you understand the job duties? Are you providing good customer service? How's your attitude? Do you look forward to coming to work? Do you take pride in that site? Or is this a paycheck for you? Is this just something you do until the next thing comes along? We would like to think that's not the case for most of you. But if it is, do the best you can with what you have each and every shift, and you'll be just fine. Report writing and logs, as well as program competence. So basically know what you know what you don't know. Seek opportunities to develop and to train. Ultimately, again, this is going to be a living, breathing document. There may be changes made to this as well. In theory, the person that comes and evaluates you and completes an officer inspection, which is likely going to be a corporal or a sergeant, they will also kind of have the training calendar available to them and be able to make recommendations. Hey, these are the trainings that are coming up. Is there anything of interest to you? Do you have any ideas for training that we haven't yet created? That's also an option as well. So again, this is our plan. This is what we want you guys and need for you guys to do in order to progress here at DMPS. We want you to have the tools you need to be successful. That's why these bones and this foundation. Obviously, always open to change, but know that this is demonstrating our commitment to you to be transparent and forthcoming with what you need in order to be developing and moving on.
So if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, please reach out to Nicole or myself at nicole.kent, K-E-N-T, at denver-metro-protective.com, or myself, josh.maguire, M-A-G-U-I-R-E, at denver-metro-protective.com. If you have any questions or concerns or not quite sure about something, please reach out to us, come into the office, shoot us an email, shoot us a window work message. One way or another, get a hold of us, and we will send those questions out. If it's a question that we feel needs clarification to everybody, we will send out another video or send out an email. Thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your shifts, and stay safe.